The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. I, of course, I'm your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. We got a big one tonight, man. So much to discuss tonight. And I had a couple of things that kind of made me go, huh. And now that the 30 visits are officially over, today was the last day that NFL teams can formally meet with players within the top 30 umbrella. And so today the Commanders met with running back Caleb Johnson. And obviously on Tuesday night, they had their big Top Golf visit with roughly somewhere between 18 to 20 prospects. So they've essentially done the thing that they set out to do. They've had some private workouts. I think they still may have a couple more private workouts here scheduled, but we'll talk about the things that we do know. But with the top 30 visits essentially in the books and most of their private workouts taken care of, we can now assess the list and start to make declarations. I'm going to give you some guarantees tonight. Now, these are still vague generalizations. I've only given out one guarantee this entire offseason. It was back on February 27th. You can check the time log, okay? All right. February 27th, I did a video. I said, spicy take. The Commanders will end up with one of two players this offseason. Either Deebo Samuel will be on this roster or Luther Burden III. One of them will be a Commander. There's an opportunity for both of them to be a Commander. But I told you one of them would definitely be on this roster because I knew the Commanders wanted to add someone that could catch the football and make something happen with it thereafter. We didn't have anyone after De'Ami Brown's pending departure, which ultimately happened, but even he wasn't good enough at what they were looking for from a guy to catch it and get yards after the catch. Now we have a yak monster in Deebo Samuel, and I knew they were going to look to add someone of that ilk this offseason because one of the biggest takeaways playing against Philadelphia, knowing that you have to play them twice a year, knowing that they play a Vic Fangio defensive scheme, which keeps everything in front of you, forces you to take underneath throws, and make you work your way down the field. And then when you get a shot opportunity, you have to take it and you can't miss, which we did very well against them last year. But unfortunately, we didn't have enough guys catch it and make something happen with it thereafter, right? So now you have that guy. That was the one guarantee that I made, and I'm 1 for 1. I'm going to give you some guarantees tonight based off of the top 30 visits and the Commanders' activity in this pre-draft process. And I'm going to give you some strong possibles, okay? Things that more likely than not probably will happen, but they're not guarantees. But they're as close to a guarantee as you can get. And I really want to talk about the amount of activity the Commanders have had with guys who are either late round draft picks, but more likely than not priority free agents. Because I think I might have figured it out now. And I don't know why I didn't just go to this initially. But we're going to talk about that tonight as well. So buckle up. Tonight's going to be a great show. If you haven't already done so, there's already 130 of you in here. Do me a huge favor. Hit the like button, all right? Hit the like button. I want you to get in a habit of as soon as you come in the door, hit the like button, right? You can always take it back if you don't like the video, right? You don't like what I'm saying. I'm talking out of the side of my neck. Louie's tripping tonight, and you don't like the video. You can always take the like back, but get in the habit of walking in the door, right? Treat this like your house. I don't know. Maybe you walk around your house with your shoes on your feet, but in this house, we wipe our shoes off. I mean, we take our shoes off at the door, right? So treat this like you're walking in and the first thing you do is you take your shoes off. First thing you do, walk in, hit the like button, right? Should become second nature to you. All right. So with that said, before we get to any draft talk, got some really big news today. Now, again, I don't want to go too far with this because we still have a ways to go. There are still hurdles that have to be overcome, obstacles that are in the way. But the first thing we've talked about, and the first thing that I've always said pertaining to the stadium, because if you want Louie T to come out of his house, you want me to come out of my house. Almost caught myself talking in third person. I had to catch myself. If you want me to come out of my house and come to games, I need a new stadium. FedEx is a dump. It's our dump, but it's a dump nonetheless. Okay. I'm ready for something state of the art. I'm ready for something that screams, we're here and we're here to stay and we're not going anywhere. A new stadium would do that, right? Now, winning would do that as well, obviously, but a new stadium would be massive, and that's what we're waiting on. So I've always said with the stadium, if you want me to believe that we're getting a new stadium, that we're making progress on a stadium, tell me where it's going. Then you'll get me to start believing that we're making real progress and that this thing is a realistic, like it's a reality, right? Realistically, I can envision this thing being done by 2030, which is what our owner has told us. He wants this to be done by 2030. He wants us to be in a new stadium by 2030. That is very feasible, but we first have to figure out where the hell the stadium is going to go. And he's been on a crusade since he's got here of trying to get it back where it rightfully belongs, which is DC. And I appreciate that sentiment, but we weren't sure. There are a lot of obstacles and hurdles that needed to be cleared before we could even talk about DC. They've gotten most of those things knocked out. But there's still constituents that live in DC that don't want a stadium there. There's tax dollars. There's a lot of conversation. There's still hurdles. But today we learned that first of all, let's start with what we know. This thing is more likely than not going in DC, which is where it belongs. DC, Maryland, Virginia are your three, areas, obviously, that it could go. But they've been working very closely to try to get the land at the old RFK site, which belongs to the government, and they're trying to wrestle that back, and they've been going through that process, and things have been put into motion to get that done. But the thing that I've always been very wary of when it comes to DC in particular is the people that live there. How much power do they have? Because as we know, there are a lot of powerful people that live in the nation's capital. And there are a lot of people that don't want a football team, don't want a stadium rather, in DC, right? It's a different crowd that lives there, that habitates there, that call that their dwelling now. Then in the 80s, when RFK was one of the pillars of that community, it's a different time. So there are going to be obstacles. Then you look at how much it's going to cost. And Muriel Bowser, the mayor of DC, has put in for her 2026 budget, which is when this stadium would in effect go, where they would essentially break ground and start that process in 2026, and it would be complete by 2030. All right. So in order for this to pass through, she had to put it in the budget for 2026. Well, she just submitted the budget for 2026. Now, that has to be approved. And obviously, the money's tight. You know, there are budget cuts that are coming in DC, lots and lots of budget cuts, people losing jobs, and it's going to be hard to sell the constituents of that city on, hey, good news, bad news. The bad news is we're going to have to cut a lot of the budget, which means we're going to have to cut a lot of jobs. A lot of you are going to have to be fired. But we're going to build a stadium. The good news is we're going to build a stadium, and we're going to use a lot of money to build a stadium. Now, that stadium is going to create a bunch of jobs, a lot of opportunities. It's going to bring a lot of money to the community, but you're still going to be out of work. That's not going to sit well with people. So it's going to be a hard sell. So there's still obstacles to overcome. But the framework is in place. And guess what? When shit like this is put in place and people in positions of power want things done, shit gets done. And so the framework is set up for a $3 billion stadium. Now, the figures are a little bit sketchy at this point because I'm listening to them talk about how much the city of DC would be on the hook for, and you're hearing the number 850 million thrown out there. And that would mostly be for, the parking and all of that kind of stuff, and the surrounding areas and getting everything kind of set up around the stadium, the infrastructure, as they like to call it. And Josh Harris would be on the hook for about 2.5 billion, right? With a B, billion. And that's a lot of money. Most times when you hear of an NFL stadium, or just a stadium in general, but an NFL stadium being built, and when there's a hang-up, when you see a team leave San Diego because they can't get a new stadium built and have to end up going to LA, when you see teams vacate somewhere or almost leave because they can't get a stadium, a lot of it is because the city doesn't want to pay. And the owner's like, well, I'm not footing the bill by my damn self. You got to help. Well, Josh Harris is like, basically, I'll foot most of this bill. Right? If I'm telling you that this thing's going to cost $3 billion and I'm paying 2.5 of it, shit, I'm basically paying for it by myself out of pocket, which is insane. You don't hear of NFL owners doing that. Some NFL owners aren't liquid. They can't do that, right? There aren't a bunch of Stan Kroenkes walking around who can just say, yeah, build me this massive fortress of a stadium and I'll pay for it out of my pocket by myself. Don't worry about it. There's not a lot of those in the NFL. You've got owners that are actually broke, or the NFL team that they own is the one asset that keeps them afloat. They don't have a lot of money outside of the asset that is this NFL franchise that they own. Josh Harris is like, I'll build the stadium, pretty much. Now, you're hearing 2.5 billion. I just told you the city would be on the hook for 850 million. The numbers, the math ain't mathing. That's $3.3 billion, right? So he said, look, Harris and Josh Harris and company might only be on the hook for somewhere around 2 billion, when it's all said and done, with the numbers crystallized and everything's chopped up. It's still a lot of damn money for the owner to have to put up. He wants this bad. You can tell, right? It's a lot of money. But the fact that we're starting to talk numbers, we're starting to talk about a location, we're talking about infrastructure, we're starting to be able to see the finish line. This is as close as we've been since we started this damn conversation, what feels like over a decade ago. FedEx has been a dump for over 2 decades. It was built in 1997, I believe, and it was a dump by 2000, okay? So we've been talking about getting a new stadium here for over a decade. But now it's starting to really feel real. This is a good thing. Now, again, you've got constituents that live in DC that are trying to put in a vote, which they will probably win, which is why they want to put this to a vote about not wanting the stadium, and they've got their reasons. And, you know, the lamest excuse is traffic. There's already traffic in DC. Anybody that lives in the DMV knows you can't go on 95 and not hit some sort of traffic. So what's this whole conversation about traffic? There's already traffic. They don't want the kind of traffic that you would bring. Yeah, it's going to be different. And that's what they don't want. And I've heard from fans that say, hey, look, all I know is, because we've talked about the amount of space or lack thereof downtown DC, they're like, look, as long as you build us a stadium where we can actually tailgate, I'm fine. A lot of fans are like, just make sure you got enough parking space and you got enough tailgate space, and we're good. And I think they're trying to make sure that they get that done and accomplished. I think I heard something like 180 acres. So they'll figure it out. This feels like it's going to get done. There's still obstacles. Again, the financials. And I'm not just talking about who's paying what. I'm talking about a city that right now is sort of working through a little bit of a deficit, and they're making cutbacks, and people are going to lose jobs. And you're trying to convince them that, yes, we're losing money over here, and yes, we're going to have to make cutbacks to make everything okay, but we still want you to help us build a stadium. That's hard. That's a hard sell for people. And then there are the people that live there that do have a voice, and a powerful one at that. These are people with lots and lots of money who can get to some of those people who make decisions and say, hey, I don't want this stadium here. So there's still a bit of a fight that has to take place, but it feels like we're on the winning side for the first time in a very long time in this conversation. We're getting close. That's all I will say, is we're getting close. I'm not going to get too excited yet. This feels like when Snyder, we started hearing about him potentially selling, and you wanted to get excited, but you're like, prove it. He's selling, prove it. And remember, we heard later on that Snyder got cold feet and he tried not to sell. And Joe Gibbs had to say, bro, it's over. It's over, bro. Let it go. Go ahead and do it, man. It's over. He tried to back out last second. We can't count our chickens before they hatch, but we are getting close. All right. So that's the stadium talk. As more news is provided to us, more information comes out, we'll continue to talk about that. But this is the first really big development we've had from a stadium standpoint in quite some time. So now, let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about the top 30 visits. Let's talk about the private workouts that have taken place. And this will lead us into my guarantees for the Commanders coming up in the draft. So let's go to our board and let's talk about the top 30 visits. And as you can see, this thing has filled out quite a bit over the last 3-4 days, right? As more information came out about the Top Golf trip. So now we know for a fact that this is a yearly thing they're going to do. And it's not a big deal anymore. Last year it was a big deal. I saw an article, man, I can't stand Mike Florio. And it's not even as strong a dislike as it used to be, but he's just annoying. That's what he is. He's annoying. He is annoying for no other reason than he's a smart guy. He knows he's smart, and it causes him to come off as arrogant and pompous and a know-it-all. And he's one of those guys that because he knows he's smart, he tries to annoy you with like facts, or he'll bring up things that are opinion based. And you're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, he was talking about the top 30 visits, the thing. Why aren't other teams doing it? Who cares why other teams aren't doing it? And you could tell he's butthurt. This fan base has attacked him, and they should have been attacking him. He deserved every bit of it. And he was like, the reporters in Washington better not say anything negative about the franchise, because that they're of the team that they're covering, because those fans won't stand for it. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Just put a sock in it. Like, stop talking about us. Talk about everybody else. Clearly, for whatever reason, there seems to be some sort of axe to grind when it comes to us. It used to be the name. Now you can't hide behind that anymore. Anyway, this isn't a big deal. This is our thing. And his thing was, well, why aren't the other teams in the league doing it? It's a copycat league. If it works so well for Washington, either they're right or the rest of the league is right. Or it could be that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Or in this case, there's more than one way to evaluate prospects. He's smart enough to understand it. And in the article, he did mention the psychological piece and seeing them amongst their peers. Duh. Okay, so what's the point? What are we even having this discussion for? So what we do know now is that the top golf thing is here to stay. And this is going to be a yearly thing. So instead of us like, hey, they haven't talked to anybody yet, what's going on? Now we don't have to do that anymore. We know that right around a week to a week and a half prior to the draft, they're going to have about 20 guys roll up to Top Golf, and that list is going to fill itself out, right? We may get a name or two or three or four early in the process that are going to be at Top Golf, but they haven't met with them, because a lot of the names that we had on the list that we were like, yeah, they're going to meet with this guy, they didn't meet with them until the Top Golf, right? They were there at Top Golf. So the list looks a little bit different now, because it's starting to fill out, because a lot of those names that were in attendance yesterday met with the team today have come to light and have surfaced. Like Jahdae Barron, for instance. This is a guy that I love out of Texas. He's a much faster corner-based Brian Branch, right? He can play outside, he can play inside, but I think nickel is going to be his calling card at the NFL level, but he can play both inside and outside. I don't think he's going to be around at 29. As a matter of fact, I would pretty much guarantee he won't be around at 29, but you just never know. You just never know, right? But I love that he's on the list, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Anthony Belton, we talked about him the last time we met. Jaden Blue is one of my favorite players in this draft. It's one of my draft crushes this year. If you were to ask me, Louie T, what player do you want the Commanders to draft the most in this draft? I would probably tell you it's Jaden Blue. Realistically, like, I think with all of the heat that's coming off of Travion Henderson, I don't think he's going to be there at 29. I don't think he's going to be there. And as you know, I'm not the biggest Omarion Hampton fan. That doesn't mean I wouldn't take him in a heartbeat. I'm just not the biggest fan of Amarian Hampton. So I'm a Jaden Blue fan. Like, I just want a guy on this roster at the running back position. And I've been talking about this for years. This is not new. And if you've been watching me, you already know what I'm about to say. And so you're like, Louie T, we know, right? Speed, 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 speed. I want speed. Speed. I want speed. I want a guy that every time he touches it, you hold your breath, whether you're a fan of the team or you're an opposing team playing the Commanders, right? Every time we play against Saquon Barkley, you're like, every time he touches it, you're like, and this goes back to when he was with the Giants, right? Because he used to kill us then too. But it's even worse now because at least with the Giants, they sucked. He was their team. And even if he hurt you, you still had a chance to win. If he's killing you and you're playing the Eagles, you're probably not going to win the game. Probably not going to win the game. Every time he touches it, you're like, get him, please get him, please get him, please get him. Because you know, he hits that second wave of defenders and it's probably peace out. I just want a guy that every time he touches it, you're like, oh shit, here we go. That was supposed to be Antonio Gibson. And I got so excited when he caught that screen against Buffalo and he murked and he scored. I was like, oh my God, did you see how fast he was running down the sidelines? I got so fast in his rookie season when he took that little jet sweep handoff against, I think it was the Ravens. It might have been the Cowboys. And he took off. Or when he caught the wide receiver screen, that was against the Ravens and almost scored. I was like, oh my God, I think we might have one of these guys. We never saw that speed after that Buffalo game again. Never. That was his second year in the league. We never saw that speed again. J.D. McKissick, we never saw the speed from J.D. McKissick, even though he was a fast guy. We never saw it. Jaden Blue is so fluid. He's just as problematic out of the backfield catching it as he is. So I don't want to compare anybody in this year's draft class to Jahmyr Gibbs because I don't think there's a Jahmyr Gibbs in this draft. But if you talk about a guy that is a problem that can do both, Jaden Blue gives me Jahmyr Gibbs vibes from his ability to catch it out of the backfield. Like Travion Henderson can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's not a route runner. Like he's not going to snap somebody off on a Texas route and get open, right? He's not built like that. He doesn't have the ankle flexion, right? He can fly. He can flat out fly. He can run. But he ain't up, right? He ain't hitting you with that MJ. Up, bop, bop, bop. He ain't breaking nobody off like that. Jaden Blue is. And it's quick, it's decisive, and it's nasty, and it's 68 and out the gate. He is the guy that, if you ask me, like, realistically, because Travion Henderson might not be realistic for us. Because, again, I don't know if he's going to be there. But Jaden Blue, more likely than not, will be there. Maybe in the 4th round. I can see somebody taking him in the 3rd round. He'll be there in the 2nd round at 61. I'm not interested in drafting Jaden Blue at 61 in the 2nd round. But if he could get there to 118, boy, he'd be what the doctor ordered, right? But you still would need, he's not an every down back, right? You still would need a bell cow. You would still need a Caleb Johnson. You would still need a Raheem Sanders. You would still need someone of that ilk. Again, I don't see them doubling up. Double up, at the running back position. I don't see that happening. But boy, I love me some Jaden Blue. I'm so glad to see his name on the list. Even though it doesn't mean anything, I'm still excited to see his name on the list. Pat Bryant is another new ad. We're going to talk about him and what his entry onto this list and some of the others mean as well. He's another guy that if you watch my wide receiver video on the Draft Prospects 101 series, I went over what a guy like Pat Bryant means and what the value is in a Pat Bryant and why I think he would be an excellent ad for this team. See, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. We got to talk about this kid, man. We got to talk about him. There's about 3 or 4 dudes I want to talk to you about tonight. He's one of them. So, when we add someone to our list, I'm curious. Okay, because my thing is everything that we do has a rhyme or a reason, which we're going to get to tonight. Right? Everything that we do. I don't think Adam Peters does anything in vain. Everything that he does is for a specific reason, right? So, with that being said and that in mind, I want to know what that reasoning is, or at least I'm going to draw an inference, right? So I looked him up because I really wasn't familiar with his game. Shout out to Shaq. I had to apologize to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I wasn't familiar with your game. So I checked him out. I watched his one game at Arizona, and I watched him a little bit at New Mexico, and I was like, oh, okay. This dude is nice. Okay? This dude is nice. This dude is like 5'11", 206 pounds, runs a 4.45 40. He's got vision. He's got the ability to change directions without stopping his feet. He is decisive. He sets up blocks, though he's patient enough to set up blockers and then explode and accelerate. He can make you miss. He's got contact balance. I'm like, shit, I wouldn't mind. And this guy was not invited to the combine. And I'm assuming he didn't get invited to the combine because of only playing one game this year. He was ineligible to play at Arizona this year. He played in the first game of the season, had 100 and some odd yards rushing, tore up his former team that he transferred from. And so in college, there's a redshirt rule that you can play in 4 games, but any more than that, and you don't have the ability to redshirt. You've burned through your redshirt, right? Any given season, if you only play in 4 games, you can redshirt. 4 games or less. In his first year at Alabama State, he redshirted, but there was some discrepancy as to whether he played in 4 games or 5. Initially, the NCAA and Arizona both said, hey, he's clean, he's good, he's got another year eligibility, and so he was able to play in that first game of the season. New information, somebody snitched is essentially what happened. Somebody snitched, right? Somebody got upset that he was playing. They forwarded over information to the NCAA that said, no. This brother played in more than 4 games in the year that he redshirted at Alabama State. That information came out. They told him, hey, he may be ineligible. You play him in a game and you win, you're going to have to forfeit that win. So they sat him out, and then ultimately they found that he wasn't eligible. He had no more eligibility left. And I'm guessing that's why he wasn't invited to the combine. He's one of the better backs in this draft. He's one of the better backs in this draft. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is a beast. Okay? Like, go watch him. Do yourself a favor. You're going to go, oh, okay. I right now, if I had to position him in this draft, let me go look at my list. I'll tell you where I would put him. Let me look at my list right now. So I'm going to just start with the top 10. Let's see who my 10th back is. I'll put in front of him. I put him in front of him. Let's see who my 8th back is. I would put him as my 9th best back in this year's draft class. I would put him in front of RJ Harvey. I'd put him in front of Cam Scatterbo. I wouldn't put him in front of Devin Neal, even though he's faster than Devin Neal. This guy's legit. He could be a steal for somebody in this draft. I wouldn't mind it being us, like So don't just disregard names you don't know, right? So that one kind of caught my eye, right? You continue down the list of new guys. Caleb Johnson is a name that I told you the other day. I said, look, guys and gals, I said, you have to understand what the difference is between a complimentary back and a replacement. And again, ultimately, B-Rob won't be here. So in essence, he's going to be replaced one way or another. It's not like if they draft a complimentary type back, a 200-pound, a 205-pound back, that B-Rob is going to be here past this upcoming season. He's still going to be replaced. Now, will they double down on running back? I doubt it. I wouldn't be opposed to it with so much talent in this draft, but you already have two capable backs in Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler on the roster. They already brought back a guy that they really, really like in Jeremy McNichols. I highly doubt that they double down on the position. They don't need to do that right now, but they do need to add a guy, and they will. You get a Caleb Johnson, that's a replacement. That means Brian Robinson Jr., by season's end, if Caleb Johnson does what he's supposed to do, Brian Robinson Jr. will be rendered irrelevant. He will be rendered irrelevant. If you draft a Jaden Blue, Brian Robinson Jr. will be a massive part of the offense this year still. So that's the difference between the two. Because I talked about the difference in the weight, in the size. That matters. Again, Travion Henderson at 203 pounds, he can handle the load, but do you want to? Is that a good use of him? Do you want to put that on him? Again, I've told you what I think the model is. The model is what the Detroit Lions are doing. I think that's what they want to do here. Physical back that starts the game off, sets the tone, change of pace back comes in. He's a problem. He's a different pace, obviously. And then when the game is in the balance, or you get into the red zone and you need to score, or, excuse me, you get in those short yardage situations, you get into your 4-minute offense and you're looking to put the game away, that's when you got your hammer. That's what they want. Caleb Johnson can be that for you, right? So he's interesting because that's the first time we've heard his name the entire process, and that was today he met with the team. He did not meet with everyone at Topgolf, unless he did, and he just posted the picture of the facility today, even though he was there yesterday. But my guess is, I'm not even sure if the players that they had at Topgolf even met the team at the facility at all. Like, I don't know if they all met at the team facility. I don't know how this works. Did they all meet at the team facility first, and then they got on one big bus and they took them over to Topgolf? Or do you go straight from the airport to Topgolf? Leave Topgolf, go back to the airport, and go about your business. That sounds more likely than heading over to Washington, everybody meeting up there, and then going, right? So I think Caleb Johnson wasn't at the Topgolf event. I think he went to meet this team by himself. I don't want to make too much of it, but so those are the newest names. We've talked about this list now has 22 names on it. As you go to the private workouts, as you can see, some names have been added here. Daquan Felton, wide receiver out of Virginia Tech, former Norfolk State Spartan. Go Spartans. Behold the green and gold. Transferred over to Vatech, 6'5", receiver, 205 pounds. Big guy. We'll talk about that. Tommy Mellott. Have you watched this guy? Have you watched Tommy Mellott? I'm gonna tell you a quick story about Tommy Malott. You know, the D2 college football playoffs will be on randomly right around Christmas time, right? New Year's, right around that time. And if you just flipping through channels, you just, happen to roll up on one of these D2 games, you may watch it for 2 seconds. That's what happened to me, right? So I'm watching this game with Montana State, and I see this fast-ass white boy at quarterback. Cooking this defense he's playing against. And I'm like, is this D2 fast or are you really fast? I can't tell, right? It looked like he moving, though. I'm like, this looked like one fast-ass white boy. So I was like, it's probably D2 fast. I've seen dudes where I'm like, yo, he looked like he moving. And then come to find out, it's like 4.58. And the other dudes that was chasing him, they all ran 4.6s and 4.7s. You're like, okay. No. Tommy Malott is fast. Okay. This man ran a 4.38 at his pro day. Okay. This man ran for over 1,100 yards, over 1,000 yards twice in his career. He's a quarterback, people. Led Montana State to a 14-1 record this year and a natty. And teams are working this dude out at running back, at receiver. And he's like, yo, I like playing receiver. I think they're working him out at receiver as well. I'm just saying that dude can move. Okay. I don't know if he can catch. I don't know, but the Cowboys are interested. If there's a team that could take a guy like this and get the most out of him, it's Dallas. But I've seen 3 or 4 other teams, including the Commanders, like, yo, let me check this dude out. We talked about Jamal Pritchett already. We talked about Xavier Restrepo. But Xavier Rubio out of Howard, a safety. He's 6'2", 212 pounds, I believe. We're in a 4.5, 240 out of Howard. There's another safety that they're going to do a private workout with from Jackson State. He's 6'2", like 207. He ran a 4.5, 240 as well. Big dudes, athletic, 38-inch verts. They're sniffing around safety. We'll talk about that. And then a name that I know a lot of you guys are really excited about. You're smiling ear to ear when you see his name down here at the bottom. Basul Tootin. Running back out of Virginia Tech. Ran the 4.3, 240 at the combine. Blazed it. Was right up the street at Vatech in Blacksburg. People keep pointing to his fumbling issues, but a lot of backs in this draft fumble the ball, right? My guy, Jaden Blue, he's put it on the carpet a few times, right? And we've talked about other backs. Genty had some issues with fumbles. That's well documented. So there's other guys in here that Dylan Sampson had some issues with fumbles this year. So we're not just going to act like Basul Tootin is the only running back that has ball security issues. And I wouldn't even say it's an issue. It's just something that he has to clean up. But boy, can he run. And that's the kind of guy that I would love us to add. I just want one of them dudes, man. One of those dudes where you say, he gets out in the open, he gone. They ain't catching him. You know how many times B-Rob got into open space and he should have scored and he didn't? And you knew he wasn't going to score. But I was shocked when he scored against Tennessee. When he hit that hole against Tennessee on like the first carry of the game and murked. I was like, oh shit. You get a guy like Tootin, it really changes this offense drastically. So let me talk to you about my guarantees now. So you've seen the private workouts. You've seen the top 30. This is it. There will be no more top 30s. They're done. Today was the last day. So again, there may be some names that aren't up here that were at the Top Golf event that, could be added to this thing that is, as the information comes out of who was there, it is what it is. But no matter whose name may or may not be added to this list, there are declarations that can be made. And I'm going to do that with you tonight. So let's do that. So I'm going to start off with my guarantees. These are the things based off of the Commanders' activity, this pre-draft process, the top 30 visits, the private workouts. This is what I can guarantee you is going to happen. Okay. And again, these are very vague. It's not like they're going to draft this player, right? I can't tell you. There's so much unpredictability with not just the Commanders, but just about almost every team in this year's draft, because there's so many uncertainties and it's such an even type of draft. And there's so many wide-ranging opinions on where this guy should go, where this guy should go. This guy didn't run a 40, not sure about him. This guy didn't run a 40, right? Does this guy love football? The same shit that you hear every year, but it's a little bit more magnified because these are some of the top players at that position. Generally, those are the ones that get scrutinized, but in most years, when we're talking about the top corner, you're not having discussions about his speed or, this, that, or the third. Like when we were talking about Sauce Gardner, when we were talking about Quinyon Mitchell last year, like we weren't talking about those guys' speed. We knew they could run. When Derek Stingley came out, we knew he could run. We weren't questioning his top speed. Those guys ran 40s. They put that shit to rest. We knew they were fast. We knew Quinyon Mitchell could fly last year. We don't know if Will Johnson can run or not. And he's not going to run a 40 before the combine. When we talk about receivers, we didn't question last year if Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze loved football. We didn't question that shit. The question was, who was the best of those guys and where would they be slotted, right? But we didn't question whether they love football or not. We're asking, does Ted McMillan love football? Is he a guy that you can spend a top 10, a top 15, a top 20 pick on and feel comfortable about that? So there's so many questions in this year's draft. And the Commanders are among those teams with questions, right? But that said, the first thing that I guarantee you that the Commanders will do in this draft is they will add speed. Speed! They are looking to get faster. Let's go back to the list, right? And again, I caution you, and I always tell you that this list isn't indicative of the guys they're going to draft necessarily. They're interested in some of these players, obviously. But a lot of these players won't even be available to them at the time of their selection. However, I just want you to look at the type of players. Jahdae Barron, sub 4.4 guy. Jaden Blue, he's close to a 4.2 guy, right? I think what did he run? A 4.3. I think he was a 4.38. I might be overselling him. Hold on a second. Jaden Blue ran a 4.38. All right. I was overselling him a bit. 4.38. Blazing fast, right? So another sub 4.4 guy. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, 4.45. Maxwell Hairston, 4.28. Let's see. Quincy Riley, what did he run? I'm pretty sure he ran a 4.4 something, if I'm not mistaken. I think he ran at the combine. Quincy Riley ran a 4.48. All right, let's keep going. Arian Smith ran what, a 4.2 something? 4.3. It was 4.3. But he's a 4.2 guy, right? Arian Smith ran a 4.3. It was like low 4.3s, I believe. 4.36 for Arian Smith, right? Jalen Smith, let's see what he ran. I think he's a 4.4 guy as well. Let's see what he ran. Jalen Smith ran a 4.45, right? Tommy Malott ran a 4.38. Jamal Pritchard ran a 4. What did I say he ran? What did Jamal Pritchard? Let me look it up real quick. I think he ran a 4.3 something. He ran a 4.42. All right. And Bashul Tootin obviously ran a 4.32. So what I'm telling you is they're looking to add speed. And it's not just at receiver. It's not just at running back. It's at corner. It's at safety, right? Even the edge rushers are fast and explosive and dynamic. Like, they're looking to get faster, period. I don't want to say we were a slow team last year, but we were. Like, who are we kidding? Defensively, we weren't the fastest last year. We probably won't be the fastest this year defensively. It'll probably take 2 or 3 years for us to get where we want to be speed-wise, because we want to fly around. Dan Quinn coach defenses want to fly around. We don't have that kind of capability. And the moves that we made in free agency aren't going to lend itself to us flying around on defense either. That's why you need guys like Dominique Hampton and Jordan McGee to develop and play, because those guys are going to bring an infusion of speed to this defense. But when you add guys like Dietrich Wise and Eddie Goldman, like, those guys aren't fast, right? Like, we're not gonna. I still don't think we're gonna be a dynamic defense speed wise, but I think they're gonna look to try to add some speed for sure, right? But when you start talking about offensively, we weren't a fast team last year. Outside of Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and when De'Ami Brown would be on the field, that was it. Like, Luke can run a little bit. We didn't see Luke's speed at all, other than the one catch against Cincinnati when he plucked it. And that wasn't even for him, by the way. We've talked about that. That pass was not intended for him. That pass was intended for Noah Brown. He intercepted that pass, caught everybody off guard, and then hauled ass down the sideline. That was the one time we saw Luke's speed. We really haven't seen it. Austin Eckler isn't fast. Brian Robinson isn't fast. Olamide Zaccheaus wasn't fast. Jamison Crowder isn't fast. We weren't a fast offense. Zach Ertz isn't fast. Ben Sinnott didn't show us. I think he's faster than what we saw last year, but we didn't get to see it. And we know John Bates isn't fast. They're looking to improve the speed on this team this year. And in all facets, they're really looking to upgrade the speed on this team. We will get faster. I assure you of that. The next guarantee, and this is an easy one, it's low-hanging fruit, but I think it just needs to be said. We will add, the Commanders will add a running back. They will do that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you can't see the writing on the wall, you can't read the tea leaves, then you just don't want to see. Because the amount of meetings they've had with running backs, they've had private workouts with running backs, it's apparent. It's well known, it's documented. They want to add a running back. Now, what kind of running back will they add? Will they add a change of pace? Will they add a every down back? The preference is an every down back. Will they be able to do that? Don't know. But what I will tell you, what they will do is they will add some sort of running back at some point in this draft. May not be the one you want, right? May not be the one you want them to select, but they will add a running back in this draft. I wouldn't be shocked, although I don't see them doing this. I wouldn't be shocked if they add two of them. I wouldn't be shocked if they add two of them. It's that good of a class. The likelihood would be you add one in the draft and then you get an undrafted guy after the draft is over. And that's your two. But I doubt they spend 2 draft picks on running backs. But they are going to draft one. The Commanders will add an edge rusher via the draft. I think that is also abundantly clear. They've been sniffing around, and I'm going to take it a step further. All right. Oluwafemi Oladipo. I don't know if you've seen this video that's circulating on social media. It was a video that was put out at a Senior Bowl video that they put out. So I think it was like almost like a little documentary the Senior Bowl put together of prospects. And I've been watching a lot of that kind of stuff, like Hey Rook, welcome to the NFL, that kind of stuff. I've been watching some of those type of videos with guys, leading up to the draft, all that good stuff. And I ran across that video of Oluwafemi Oladipo talking. Bro, he's a commander, man. I'm telling you, he's a commander. They're drafting Oluwafemi Oladipo if he's there in the 4th round. And I think he can make it to the 4th round. I do. If he's there at 118, assuming that they don't trade that pick, they're going to take him. If they trade back from 61 and their pick ends up being 77 in the 3rd round, they're going to take him at 77 in the 3rd round. I don't think they take him at 61. I wouldn't be shocked if they took him at 61. But I don't think they're taking him at 61. But if he's there at 118, he's a commander. I think they love this kid. And just listening to him talk, there's no way they didn't fall in love with him. And I'm just telling you, he's the prototypical type of guy they want in their locker room. Like, he starts off the clip that I watched, he starts off talking about how he thinks it's important to speak to every person in the building, to greet everyone, to be nice to everyone, right? And he talked about bringing energy, or, the NFL term is bringing juice. And he was talking and his voice was kind of hoarse. He's like, my voice is a little bit, hoarse now because I was yelling. This was filmed during the week of Senior Bowl. And they had clips of him in the huddle, like, yo, let me get some of that. Like, I want to get in the middle of this huddle. I want to lead this down. I want to break this drink down. And he's yelling. And one of the coaches at the Senior Bowl is like, man, I love your juice, man. I love your energy. And he's like, you brought it from the hotel onto the field. He's like, yo, it's every day. They love this kid. I'm telling you. Now, they're not the only team that probably loves him. But they love him. Love him. They could spend 61 on him. I don't think they want to. But I'm just telling you, they're drafting Oluwafemi Oladipo if he's available at a pick that they feel like is good value. Because there could be other players that are on the board. Like, this isn't the Ron Rivera crew where no matter who's on the board, I'm drafting this guy. I've already made up my mind. You can't change my mind. If this guy's on the board, we got to take our guy. No matter what. This ain't that. If there are better players that give you better value, they're going to do that and hope that he's still around the next time. But I'm telling you, if he's there in the 4th round, that's right now, if nothing changes, if they got a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, a 6th, and a 7th, you don't want to spend 61 on Oluwafemi Oladipo. Because he isn't ready to jump in 2025 and get you 6 sacks. He's not ready to do that. I don't think he is. So you want to draft him on day 3. So there's not this thought of, oh, no, he was a 2nd round pick. Like, the reason we look at, if Johnny Newton was a 4th round pick, you wouldn't have been looking at Johnny Newton's rookie season like it was a disappointment. Hey, we got a lot of snaps out of a 4th round pick. You would have been cool. It was because Johnny Newton was a 2nd round pick that you was like, hey, bro, I need more than that shit. That's what happens when you draft a guy, is where he's drafted is going to alter the perception of what's good enough in terms of production, right? The guy's skill set didn't change. The perception changes. Because you can draft a 5th round talent in the 2nd round. People are going to treat him as a 2nd round pick. That's a 5th round talent, though. Then you drafted in the 2nd round. Now he's got 2nd round expectations. It may be unrealistic for him to meet those expectations, but that's the expectations you put on him by drafting him where you did. You have to be careful with that. That's why you want to draft guys that are of great. This is why we have the value conversation. What's great value? This is the only reason that this matters, because wherever you take a guy, that's the expectation that's going to be put on him. If I draft a guy in the 1st round, he's getting 1st round expectations. That's why I want nobody willing to wait on Emmanuel Forbes. We weren't willing to wait on Jamin Davis. That's a 1st round pick. That shit's supposed to be ready to go. No assembly necessary. Batteries included, out of the package. I open it up, hit the on switch, and he's supposed to do the shit that it say on the outside of the box. That's a 1st round pick. I don't need no batteries. I don't need no assembly. Open it up, turn the shit on, and watch it go to work. 2nd round pick, you may need to assemble. You may need batteries, right? You're not both. Either he already come with batteries, but you got to put this part here, put that part there, right? Or it's all assembled, but you do need 2 AA batteries. Okay, cool. But when I turn the shit on, he's supposed to work. Same thing with 3rd round picks now. 3rd rounders are the new 2nd rounders. When you get to day 3, that's when assembly is necessary, right? You're not going to just open this thing up and it's ready to go. It's like a Lego set. You got to put this shit together. All right. Oluwafemi Oladipo is raw. He has to be put together. You can't spend a 2nd round pick on him unless you love him. I think they love him, but I don't think they want to spend a 2nd round pick on him. But they're adding an edge rusher. Believe you me, they're adding an edge rusher in this draft. So just know, when we're done, whether it's 5 selections, 6, 7, 4, 8, whatever that tally is, one of those will be an edge rusher. The last guarantee is that the Commanders will add a cornerback. they've been sniffing around the cornerback position, just like they've been sniffing around running back, just like they've been sniffing around edge rusher far too much this pre-draft process to not take a corner. They want a corner, and they know they need a corner. They know they have to upgrade the position. So that's not a surprise to any of you. The question is, this is the question that I have, and they've got me. My hands are up. You got me. Is I don't know what kind of corner. I'm confused because I thought a Dan Quinn corner was supposed to be, tall, long limbs, able to run, and most importantly, able to take the shit away. They've been looking at diminutive corners. They've been looking at taller corners. I think the common theme is, hey, you better be able to take that sumbitch away. You keep hearing the name Benjamin Morrison come up in regards to us because he can take it away. As a Notre Dame fan, we know what he was able to do in his freshman year. Injury beset him this year, but you know that he's fully capable of taking the football away, right? Maxwell Hairston keeps coming up because he took it away, right? And then not only did he take it away, he took it to the crib when he took it away, right? So there are some names of interest there, but they're going to draft a corner, right? Another guy that keeps coming up is the corner from the corner from Iowa State, former wide receiver, so he's got hands and can attack the football. Darian Porter, right? He keeps coming up because of his ball skills, but he's a bigger corner, right? Jahdae Barron is a smaller corner. So I'm like, I don't really know. I think the thing they're looking for is like they don't really give a shit about your size anymore. Maybe Mikey kind of broke the mold last year for them. I think they still want to push Mikey back inside to nickel, but I think if Mikey was faster, they'd probably just leave him out there. But I think Mikey's probably better suited to go inside. We'll see. Some guys, you never know. But I do know they want to add more ball hawks in the secondary. We don't have enough of them. They want guys that are looking to take it away. So I think that's what they're prioritizing, maybe more so over a certain height, length requirement. Can you take the football away? If you can, if you check that box, then you got a shot. We'll figure out if you fit what we do, because there's some of these dudes out here, they don't want to tackle. I don't think they're looking for any guys that don't want to mix it up. We had enough of that last year. So now these aren't guarantees, but they're a step below a guarantee. The Commanders are strongly interested in the following. First thing, adding a big wide receiver. Let's look at the list again. And this kind of speaks to us just lacking size at the receiver position. Outside of Noah Brown, we don't really have adequate size at the position, right? And remember, Noah Brown's on a 1-year contract. At some point, you've got to upgrade the position, and you want long-term stability. I was talking about this on a show I did earlier, and I said one of the things with the Commanders right now, and this is roster-wide, is it lacks stability. Almost every position lacks stability, except for quarterback, and even that's an unstable position to a degree because there's no long-term backup behind Jaden Daniels. Marcus Mariota's on a 1-year deal. Josh Johnson is on a 1-year deal. Sam Hartman is there, but at any time, he could be replaced. So you really don't have a long-term backup, which is okay, right? This league, you go year to year sometimes with backups, but that's not, the starting position is stable. That's all we really care about, but you'd like to have a guy entrenched as the backup for more than 1 year, right? right now, there is no stability whatsoever at running back. Every single running back on the roster currently is on a 1-year contract. Every single one, which is why I wouldn't be shocked if they doubled up. Double up, this year. Wouldn't be shocked. Because every single back on this roster is on a 1-year contract. Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez Jr., all 1-year contracts. So no stability there as of right now. Wide receiver, same thing, right? Terry McLaurin, we expect to get a contract. I told you I expected Terry McLaurin contract extension in July. I told you that a month ago. Okay? That's going to get done, I believe, before the season, right? So that will give you a little bit more stability there. But after him and Luke McCaffrey, 1-year contract, 1-year contract, 1-year contract, 1-year contract, right? KJ Osborne, 1-year contract. Noah Brown, 1-year contract. Deebo Samuel, 1-year contract, right? Michael Gallup, 1-year contract. There's no stability there. Tight end is the only place with semi-stability from the skill position standpoint on offense, because Ben Sinnott is on the second year of a 4-year rookie contract, and John Bates just got a 3-year deal. He's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. So those two are locked in, but your TE1 is on a 1-year deal, and your fourth tight end is an undrafted priority free agent that at any time can be replaced in Colson Yankoff. So there's a little stability there, but your number one tight end right now is on a 1-year deal. And the hope is your number 3 tight end, because John Bates is locked into TE2. Okay, that 3-year, $21 million contract locks John Bates into TE2. He'll never be your 1, and he shouldn't be your 3, right? Based off of what they're paying him. What we're hoping is that Ben Sinnott leapfrogs him to TE1 with his performance this year, and then they go out and get us a new TE3 next year. Or, and I talked about this on the show earlier today, my tight end show, or you draft Colston Loveland at 29, and now you got your new TE1. They're not going to do it. First of all, I don't think he's going to be there. If he's there, I would do it. To hell with, oh, you drafted one in the second round last year. Well, that guy ain't this guy. But if you want that video and that conversation, go watch that video. I did that earlier today. But let's talk about, I went off topic. Let's look at the receivers, right? So again, we don't have any stability across the roster, right? Now, I could do the same thing for the defensive side of the football, and you would find it to be exactly the same, right? So in effect, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build stability. You're trying to fill out this roster with guys that you think fit what the commander tag looks like and what it means to be a commander. And you want to comprise this roster of guys that make up, and fit certain roles. Like, you want guys to come in and star in their roles. Not everybody's a star, but you want guys to star in their role. Right now, we don't have a big receiver other than Noah Brown. And again, that's a 1-year thing. So Pat Bryant is a 6'2", like 214-pound wide receiver. Nope, he didn't run fast. That's going to tank his stock. I talked about this on my best value video for the Commanders at the receiver position. Go watch that if you haven't already done so. I just talked about the tight end position and Colston Loveland on my best value for the Commanders at the tight end position video. Pat Bryant is a guy that I think is going to fall down draft boards because he didn't run fast. Ran a 4.61, if I'm not mistaken. This guy can hoop. I would love for Pat Bryant to be added, and I could easily see a guy like him fall into the 6th round. To me, he shouldn't fall any further than the 5th based off of his talents and what he brings to the table. Speed isn't everything. But, teams get enamored with speed. And so I can see him falling to the 5th round. We don't have a 5th round pick. I don't think he's going to make it to the 6th round. So if you want him, you would probably have to draft him in the 4th round. I'm open to it. That's a big receiver, though, right? Keep going down the list. Trey Harris, we talked about him early in the process. Then he kind of went away. Now he's back like cooked crack. 6'2", 205 pounds, physical receiver, physically imposing wide receiver, right? Offers you some size. DeQuan Felton, 6'5", right? So, and we talked about the wide receiver from Tennessee. If I'm not mistaken, at some point, I thought we had met with him as well. I might be tripping. Oh, yeah. He was at the local pro day, the Tennessee wide receiver, right? So that's a 6'5" receiver. So again, they're clearly showing interest in bigger wide receivers. Not telling you that they're going to draft one, but they recognize that size is definitely something that they should be interested in, right? Let's keep going. The next thing on this list, Commanders strongly interested in adding a punt returner. Something I brought up early in the offseason. I've been talking about punt returner. You've been talking about punt returner for years, right? We haven't had one since 2021, right? That's the last time we had a punt returner on this roster. Before that, we had a punt returner for 2 years, 2020, 2021. All right, DeAndre Carter. Since then, or before then, I think the last time we had a legit punt returner was Jamison Crowder. Early Jamison Crowder. 2016-ish, 2015, 2016-ish, Jamison Crowder. And then before that, it was Brandon Banks. So, like, the fact that we can count the last 3 solid punt returners we've had on one hand, and we're talking, Brandon Banks was what? 2000 and what? 8? Nah, not that far back, right? He had to be like 20. I feel like he was here with Shanahan. Am I tripping? I feel like he was here with Shanahan. So what would that put him? 12, 13 maybe? 10, 11? Somewhere in there? I might be tripping, and Brandon Banks might have been 2008. You know what I'm saying? I might be tripping. It shit all starts to kind of blend together after a while. Anyway, let's go through this list real quick. So Quincy Riley has punt return ability. Arian Smith has punt return ability. Jamal Pritchett has punt return ability. Xavier Restrepo has punt return ability. And I think Baysal Tootin has at least kickoff return ability. He may have punt return in his background as well, right? And I may be missing 1 or 2 guys on this list, but a lot of guys, like, you want to know why they want to work out a guy like Xavier Restrepo, and I know he didn't run well. That's an understatement, but he's got punt return ability. That's why. Jamal Pritchett is 5'8" at receiver. Punt return ability. So they're strongly interested in adding a punt returner. The next thing is, and I wanted to make this a guarantee, but I can't, because it may happen, but it may happen post-draft, right? Priority free agent. And I can't add that in the will, because if I say they will do this, that means they're drafting it. If ands or buts about it. But the next thing is they're strongly interested in adding a place kicker. I mean, I don't have to tell you this, but We've talked about it. Andres Bergales, a private workout from Miami. Ryan Fitzgerald, private workout, Florida State. Those are the top 2 kickers in the draft. We're not the only team that need kickers, right? We're not the only team that needs a kicker. And so, how desperate are you? That's what it boils down to. How desperate are you? How bad you want a kicker? You want to draft one? We'll see. Because Tennessee needs a kicker. The Indianapolis Colts just cut their kicker. The New England Patriots need a kicker. And I'm pretty sure there are 3 or 4 more teams around the league like, yeah, I can use one too. Me too. Yeah, we could get one too if there's enough. How bad you want a kicker, man? And that's why I couldn't put it as a guarantee, because other teams might say, yeah, I'm going to draft this dude in the 5th round. And both of these kickers go in the 5th round. And we like, shit. First of all, we don't even have a 5th round pick to begin with. But shit. I was thinking more of a 7th. Maybe a 6th. And both of them going in the 5th. Now you got to go, in the trash heap or the priority free agent heap after the draft. I think they're going to add a kicker, though. They're strongly interested in adding a place kicker to compete. And we know to compete with Zane Gonzalez. That's the hope, but they may have to go the veteran route. We don't want to do that, but that may be ultimately what happens, because we can't dictate, where these kickers come off the board. Next thing, the Commanders are strongly interested in adding a big, fast, physical safety. And I didn't think I would say this. Going into this process, after they signed Will Harris, I just thought, okay, I'm going to throw that in the same pile with quarterback, tight end, and linebacker. We ain't doing it this year. That's the we ain't doing it pile. Quarterback, tight end, linebacker. We ain't doing that this year pile. Tight end is the only one that I would say, there's a shot. And the only guy I think that would allow them to take a tight end is Colston Loveland. I talked about that on the video earlier today, though. Outside of that, they ain't taking a tight end. And I would have put safety in that same bucket before this process started. I'd have put safety in that same bucket. Signing Will Harris, bringing back Quan Martin, having Tyler Owens, having Jeremy Reeves. I thought that, and still having Percy Butler. I said, okay, that's 5. They're good. But Percy's not safe. That's what they're telling me is, hey, Percy's cool, but he on the last year of his deal. We don't love him. Not like that. That ain't our boy, right? So you look at the amount of safeties that they've either met with, worked out, and it's starting to become somewhat alarming, for me at least. So Jonas Sanker was on this list. He was at the local pro day, and then they had a top 30 visit with him. Jalen Smith can play safety as well. Did at USC, but he was more so a nickel and a boundary corner. Xavier Rubio, safety out of Howard. I just told you that there's another safety that they are going to privately work out that plays for Jackson State that's 6'2". Xavier is 6'2". I think it is abundantly clear that they are interested in safeties. That's another position that if an Emmanuel, what's my man's name? Shit. I might have had his name. His first, yeah, Nick. I know about to say his name ain't no damn Emmanuel. Nick Emmanuel. If he's available, I think that's a guy I'd be willing to take. I think they would be willing to take too. Like, it wouldn't shock me. That's the only guy that I think they would take. Like, I'm seeing Malachi Starks keep popping up. I just don't think he's a first round safety. I think he and my favorite safety in the draft is Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. And Billy Bow is a second round pick. I think Malachi Starks is a second round pick. Nick Emmanuel is the only safety that I think is worthy of a first round pick. And that's the kind of guy they're looking for. He just has no business being around at 29, and I don't think he will be, right? So I know they're interested in upgrading the safety position, as they should be. To what degree? Are you looking for a starter? Because Will Harris doesn't stop you from taking a starting safety. Right? He doesn't stop you from doing that. Are you looking for depth? We've been rumored to the Penn State kid. And he's a local kid. So he was at the local pro day. And they like him a lot. So again, they're sniffing around safety a lot more than I thought they would be this process. And the last thing that the Commanders are strongly interested in, these are borderline guarantees, but you can't go that far. They're strongly interested in adding a tackle. And I mean, tackle is littered all over this thing, right? Anthony Belton, Christian Lattingham, Connerly Jr., Milam. I think he's more of a guard, but still. All right. And there have been a host of other guys that we've been, linked to or they've talked to. They're interested in adding some sort of tackle. Again, there's no guarantees that happens. It feels like, I'm going to be honest with you, Belton feels like a fourth round pick. Like if they were to draft Anthony Belton and be in the fourth round. Outside of him, and Connerly obviously is a first round pick. Outside of those two, it feels like it's more of a 6th, 7th round thing. All right, let's just throw a flyer. Let's throw a dart out there at one of these tackles later in the draft. The hope is, if you do something like that, the hope is that you end up with a guy that can be your swing. Like, again, I've talked about this. We don't have stability anywhere. That includes the offensive line. Like, your swing tackle right now is Foster Sorrell. He's on a 1-year deal and not even sure how good of a swing tackle he is. So, worst case scenario, you'd like to find your own swing tackle. And let's say that we find out, I think a lot of us feel this way already, but we're not sure, right? Let's say that we get to this season and they'll figure this out fairly quickly in training camp, right? Preseason, they'll figure it out. But let's just say we get to a point where we find out Brandon Coleman's a guard. You still need a tackle. Now, you got one this year, Andrew Wiley, but stop me if you've heard this before. He's on a 1-year deal. Stop me if you heard this before. He's on a 1-year deal. So at some point, you want to have a guy. Now, there's some guys on the roster that they may be developing. I've talked about that already, but the likelihood is they want to bring in more competition. So those are my guarantees. Those are my strongly interested in. I'll also, I guess I could save this conversation. Let me write it down so I don't forget. But I could save this conversation for another time. Let me write this down real quick. All right, so I got that down. So I won't forget, because sometimes you know how my head is. I start talking about all kinds of stuff, and then I forget what I wanted to talk to y'all about. And then I never have the conversation with you. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys got to say. Start the night off with my guy, Todd Labor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Todd, writes, is it true that TJ Watt might come to DC? I saw on social media that the Commanders are interested in him. Todd, it's a very sticky, murky time out there on these streets. And I always tell you, be careful this time of the year. This is lion season. Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man, Louie T. Just a month ago, this is why you have to take heed of this type of stuff, Todd. Just a month ago, who are we talking about coming in DC as an edge rusher, a premier edge rusher in this league? Who are we talking about? Oh, he wants out. Hey, no way. He ain't going back. He goddamn made a press run on Super Bowl week, going and talking about every team that needed an edge rusher. Agent came out. This man put out a damn flyer that said that requested a trade. And then his agent said, this ain't about money. And then it was about money. TJ Watt ain't going nowhere, man. Todd, TJ ain't going nowhere. And the Steelers, generally, I'm actually shocked that we've gotten to this point with TJ, to be honest with you. How old is TJ Watt? I'm assuming he's got to be, pushing 30 by now. Maybe 31, right? Let's see how old TJ Watt is. He can't be. I don't think he's super old. He's 30, right? He'll turn 31 in October. So he's still relatively young, right? Young enough that he's going to command at least one more massive contract. And the Steelers pay their guys, right? He's a Steeler. He's a Steeler lifer. Like, he's the equivalent of their defensive tackle. Damn, I can see his face. And his brother plays on the team too. If I can see his number, then I could probably get his name. He ain't 99. He ain't 98. Is he 97? 96, 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah, he's got to be 97. Shit. I can't think of his name right now, but it'll come to me. Yes, thank you. Cam Hayward. Thank you guys out there. Cam Hayward. They take care of their guys. He's just like Cam Hayward. They're not going to let him walk. We've seen this before. He's pissed off. Negotiations haven't gone the way that he envisioned them going. We see it all the time with players when they get in their feelings. And, Jonathan Allen told us a million times, it's business. It ain't personal. But in the same breath, he said, but it's almost impossible as a player to not take it personal. When you do everything the right way, you do everything the way they asked you to do it. And then in his case, you exceed everything that they asked you to do with the way he's performed. You just think you show up and they're going to pay you because that's the right thing to do. But it's business and it's a negotiation. He's going to get paid. They always use social media as a platform to voice their frustration, strip their social media of all things, related to the team. And that move is old. It's played out, but it's a necessary tactic that these players feel that they have to use. Right. He decided to post a picture of him chucking the deuce. Yeah, you're right. You're not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Don't waste your time or your energy on that, Todd. Okay. Don't do it. He's not going anywhere. They're going to pay him. He's a Steeler. And they can't even function when this man's not healthy. So, trust me, he's going nowhere. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for being a member of the MOBB for 14 months. Who writes, Lou, Good to see you as always. Likewise, JP, always good to hear from you. Do you like the idea of drafting a tackle or wide receiver at 29? Maybe Josh Simmons if he's there. Maybe Ibuka, the OSU wide receiver. Also, I believe Hampton or James Pierce will be there at 29. That is the intrigue surrounding this draft. Is I could throw out a list of 10 players that have a shot to be there at 29. And you would probably be cool with 7 out of the 10 being drafted here. And realistically, 4 to 5 of them will be on the board at 29. It's that kind of draft. It's that kind of position that we're in. And if you ask me between a tackle or a wide receiver at 29, I would tell you that I would prefer the wide receiver. Because again, you draft a first round player, I need immediate dividends. Now, the interest around Simmons is that had he stayed healthy, he would have been probably one of, if not the first tackle taken in this draft. But he wasn't healthy, and you don't know when he's going to be fully healthy. He may be ready for the start of the season, but I believe in my heart of hearts that if he is good medically and he's as good as everyone says he is, he won't be there at 29. There's too many offensive line needy teams that could use a tackle before we even get a sniff at 29. So, a team like Kansas City, for instance, if they went out and they signed back like a tackle to presumably start in free agency, and they essentially did a Andrew Wiley type contract for a guy, and I'm like, huh? If they even sense that Josh Simmons will be ready and they think he's worth it, they will go and get him. They're not hoarding picks. They'll go get him. They'll jump up and they'll go get him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I've already said Emeka Ibuka is the perfect complement to Terry McLaurin. If you wanted to take a receiver, it's a perfect complement to Terry McLaurin's skill set. He's so quarterback friendly. He does everything the right way. I'd have no issues with him coming off the board at 29. He's an immediate slot winner. We could use one of those. I don't know if Hampton will be there. I don't know if Pierce will be there. They both could be there. They could both not be there. One could be there. The other could not be there. That's the beauty of this draft. That is the beauty of this draft. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Video channel writes, Josh Harris about to sell the Sixers for this stadium. $2.5 billion. Yeah, throw the for sale sign on the Devils too. Now, obviously, that's what it's going to cost, but it ain't directly coming out of his pocket. Like, he ain't going to just write a check for $2.5 billion or whatever it's ultimately going to cost him, right? He's not going to have to sell all of his assets and liquidate everything so he has the money for this. Just like everything else, he'll finance it. It'll get done, right? He's not going to have to sell anything to get this done. But if it's one thing that he understands, trust me, is that none of the other teams that he owns is going to even come close to being the cash cow that his NFL team that he owns is. He could put those two franchises together and they would pale in comparison in terms of their worth to what this NFL team that he has just bought is worth. So whatever he needs to do to improve the value of this monster that he acquired, he's going to do it. Trust me. He loves the Sixers. He loves the Devils. He's not selling either one. It's a lot of money, but he's good for it. King of the Bluegrass. Thank you for being a member for 37 months. Wowzers. Right. What up, Lou? What's up, King of the Bluegrass? Hope everything is well with you and yours. Likewise. Okay, Caleb Johnson, Pierce Jr., and Josh Simmons are all sitting there at 29. Who do you pick? Well, Caleb Johnson is definitely going to be there. And I don't think that's a back that's where I've already given you my running backs that are the best value at 29, right? He's not one of them. So I wouldn't take Caleb Johnson at 29. That's a 61st overall selection, not a 29th. Pierce Jr. and Josh Simmons would be the two you would be picking from in that scenario. And again, it's just what does it comes down to, how do you value those two players, right? Josh Simmons, again, if he's passed the medical test and he's got a new lease, a new clean bill of health, and it's almost like how you would treat a high school basketball player that went to college for 1 year and didn't play well. If you believed in him as a high school prospect, you'll disregard the 1 year at said school that didn't work. You'll make excuses for him, because I saw that kid in high school and he was the most dominant player I had seen in fill in the blank years. And so I know this kid can play. If that's how you feel about Josh Simmons, then you take him. Because tackle, to me, for this team right now is more important because of who Jaden Daniels is and the investment that you made. But again, in their mind, and again, this I've said this, I don't know how many times I've said this offseason, and I've been saying this for a reason. The single biggest piece on that offensive line, the key to all of it up front, is Brandon Coleman, because ultimately he's going to drive their decision. They're going to try him at tackle. If you draft Josh Simmons and Brandon Coleman ends up being really good at right tackle, you're not screwed, because you can just play Josh Simmons at guard, right? Until a tackle position opens up. Like, you can never have enough good offensive linemen. So you're not screwed. But you're not drafting Simmons to be a guard. You're drafting him to be a tackle. So if Coleman doesn't work out and you pass up on Simmons and he turns out to be a Pro Bowl player, you may be kicking yourself, but, that's life. They don't know what Brandon Coleman is right now. And they already said they're going to try him at tackle first. So that probably gives them an opportunity to bypass tackle in the first round, because they know, and they got Andrew Wiley in their back pocket. Worst case scenario, if we got a running back with Wiley at right tackle, we can get away with that for one more year. So they feel like, hey, we don't have to do it at 29 if we don't want to. Pierce comes in and immediately can offer you some value, but he's not starting. I don't think at defensive end. You draft him. At his size, do they trust him to stop the run? I know I trust him to be a guy that you can move around and he can get to the quarterback. But the same thing we said about Dante Fowler Jr. could end up being, in effect, true about James Pierce Jr. which is he can't necessarily stand up against the run consistently. So, yeah, he can stand up against tight ends. But what about tackles and guards? Don't know. So, right now, I would tell you the pick would be Pierce. I think that kind of talent, it's hard to pass it up. And what you're looking for right now is as much talent as you can acquire. He's a blue chipper. I can't necessarily say that about Josh Simmons. Pierce is a blue chipper. Got to take the blue chipper. Jack Miller, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Jack writes, I like the system. They have a train or monorail system to the stadium. The city should do something like that. It's always best if you have something like that connected so that it's easy to get in, to, and from said stadium. The best stadiums are the ones that are easily accessible. I know they want to set something up like that where they want to build it and turn it into, you know, sort of like a destination where people want to hang out. I don't know if they got enough space to do it. When they talk about infrastructure, they may be talking about something like that, like a monorail, you know, something you set up where it gives you instant access. Like where I live, or where my family lives, right by Norfolk State, they set up a light rail, right? And it gives you easy access to downtown and to, you know, some of the different places, Granby Street, and some of the different locales in the city. And again, it's going to cost taxpayer dollars. They're going to have to sign off on it. Don't know if they're going to be willing to do that, but that's the hope, right? Is that you find as many accessible ways to get to the stadium and get in and out. That's going to limit the amount of traffic. Instead of people having to drive their vehicles to the game, right? They can just catch the light rail. They can just get on a train, and it'll limit the amount of traffic that you already are going to inherently have going to the stadium. But if everybody, like, the problem with Landover is there's no other way to access Landover. Like, you have to drive your vehicle there. You can't catch the train to the game and get off at a stop and walk to the stadium. You got to get in your car and you got to drive to Landover, Maryland, to go to FedEx Field, or to the hell is the stadium called? Oh shit. I think I done called it about FedEx like 3-4 times today too. That's not the name of the stadium anymore. What is it called? Southwest. Thank you. No, it's not Southwest. What is it? Northwest. Damn, Southwest. You about to have me calling it Southwest. Northwest. Thank you. So yeah, it'd be nice if they could build something like that, Jack. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy. C-Mac, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member for 6 months. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, hey, Lou. Hope you and your family have a happy Easter. Likewise. Likewise. Happy Resurrection Sunday. 2 questions. He says, 1, how open are you to drafting Andres Bergales or Ryan Fitzgerald as kickers in the 6th round, and why? And 2, what do you think happens for Trey Hendrickson and why? So the first question, you know, I'm more than open. Like, some people are adamant. Like, I know Ed does not want to draft a kicker at all. You already know my theory. I told you what my philosophical belief is. You do whatever the hell you want after the 5th round, right? 5th round, really, I don't want you spending a pick in the 5th round, but I'll allow it. 5th round or later, do whatever the hell you want to do with specialists. You want to draft a long snapper, you want to draft a punter, you want to draft a place kicker, knock your stuff out. 6th round, I'm cool with it. You know how I am. Yeah, absolutely. Get us a kicker. We need one. 2, who do you think, what do you think happens with Trey Hendrickson? I've said this already. If he's going to be traded, it'll happen on draft night. Deadline spur action, right? So if he's going to be traded, it'll happen on draft night. You know, there's no incentive to trade him right now or have someone trade for him right now because you want to kind of see how things play out. They're not getting a 1st round pick for him. So you, in effect, could be a team that has your eyes set on a certain edge rusher in the 1st round, and then said guy may not fall to you. You may not get him, right? You could be sitting there in the 2nd round saying to yourself, all the guys that we wanted in the 1st round and the guys that we hope fell to us in the 2nd round are all gone. So we're sitting here with a 2nd round pick that, while still holds value, we're not as thrilled about this pick. So you could ship that off, package up maybe another pick, and say, hey, let me get Trey Hendrickson off of you. I can see a team doing that. I don't anticipate it happening, but I could see it happening. But I've always told you, Cincinnati isn't going to give him away. He has more value to them on this 1-year deal that he has left than just giving him away in the pursuit of ridding themselves of someone who is upset about the contractual situation. They don't care. They really don't about appeasing him. He's playing in Cincinnati this year, I believe. Now, whether an extension gets done at some point or, you know, he squabbles a bit, they bark back, but Cincinnati is one of those teams that operates at their pace and they march to their own drum, right? Nobody else is beat, just their own. He's not going to force them. And he's been a good sport, which is why they told him, hey, you know what? You can go seek a trade. But they made the price tag so high because they have no interest in really trading him. They made it so high that nobody was going to do that. I think he's going to end up being in Cincinnati. My guy, Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? 2 questions. 1, what are reasonable expectations stat-wise and performance-wise for our D this season based on the changes and why? And 2, who are your top 3 players you want us to draft and why? Reasonable expectations for this defense. It's hard to say that right now, Chris, because I want to see what we do in the draft. Obviously, you get a difference-making edge rusher. You know, you draft a corner that you feel like can come in and help, and all of a sudden you may feel a little bit different about this defense. Right now, based off of what we've done, I've already told you how I feel. I think we've assembled a defense that I think, and again, some of it also is predicated on your linebackers being able to run. But based off of what we've assembled, we should be able to stop the run pretty well this year. We should be able to stop the run pretty well. Right now, where we'll struggle is getting to the quarterback. If we can't manufacture some sort of pressure, we don't have many guys that can just win a one-on-one matchup right now and get to the quarterback. You got to pray that Jacob shucks. You got to pray that Frankie Louvu continues to play at a high level. What is Jacob's last name? I don't know why I can't remember nobody's name these days. Jacob Martin. You got to hope that Jacob Martin comes in here and has a career year. Man ain't never had more than 4.5 sacks in a single season. So I mean, a 6 sack season from him is a success, right? Because he's just never done it. Then you just got to find ways to piece together sacks, right? I don't think you're going to have a guy this year with double digits unless it's Frankie Louvu as of right now. So I still think that based off of what we've assembled, I still think that this defense is a liability in obvious passing situations, because how are you going to get to the quarterback? So again, my hope is let's be a top 20 defense overall, right? The one thing that can change everything for us, even if we're not a good defense, say we're lousy on third downs, the one thing that could change that is forcing turnovers. If you could force some turnovers, it changes everything. Based off of what we did last year, it doesn't sound like something we'll be able to do, but it's a whole new crop of guys defensively. Really, it is. It's a totally different defense. So the whole D-line, with the exception of Deron Payne, probably going to be different starters from a year ago. Assuming that Cleveland Farrell doesn't start, but it's a whole new cast of characters up front. Your linebackers are the same. You got all new corners that are starting, more likely than not. We'll see if Mikey starts outside. He didn't start the season last year outside. He started it inside. But obviously you got Marshawn Lattimore, and then we'll see who the mystery man is. Could be just Jonathan Jones, whatever the case may be. And then you're going to have a new starting safety. So it's a totally different defense. We'll see. Just try to be top 20. If you can force turnovers, it'll mask whatever deficiencies we have if we're forcing turnovers. The key last year for us was we didn't force turnovers, so we had to be good on third downs and get off the field that way. And we were able to do that. We were able to do that at a high enough clip, but we were inconsistent. When we were good, we were good. When we were bad, we were really bad on third downs. And so, and we know we couldn't stop the run consistently last year. So that's the one thing they have cleaned up, but it may have come at the expense of getting to the quarterback consistently. We'll see. Top 3 players you want us to draft. Oh, man. So obviously it's going to be dependent on how the board falls. I've talked about this. If Colston Loveland falls to 29, take him. Take him. That's a top 10 talent in this year's draft at 29. Take him. So he'd be one of those guys. If you want right now production at edge rusher, Donovan Ezeraku is that. Right? Again, will he be there? Don't know. But that's another guy I would be super interested in. Like, I'm big on Travion Henderson. I just don't think he's gonna be like. There's a chance that he's not there at 29, but even if he is, I'd be cool with them taking him. I don't love it, but I love what he brings to the table. So I'd be more than thrilled if they did that. I would be even more excited if they could get him somehow in the second round. He's not lasting to 61 though. That's just not happening. So that would come in a trade back scenario. I'd be so like, you want to talk about the perfect scenario for the Commanders is to trade back to like 34 or 37 and then draft Travion Henderson. What? That would be like the absolute perfect scenario. Like Cleveland passes on quarterback at 2, and then they come back to 29 and get a quarterback, and you go to 33. Oh my God. And then you draft Travion Henderson. That would be the perfect scenario, right? So I'd add him to the list. But there's so many backs. I'd be cool with a number of backs in this draft class. I really like Luther Burden III. I really, really think it would be so great to have him and Debo on the same squad for a year. And then Debo probably goes away next year. And now you've got a guy to replace Debo. That dude's different, man. With the ball in his hands, he is electric. And there's a real shot that he's available at 29. So he's another guy that I really like in this draft. I mean, there's so many guys that are really good football players. But Michael Williams is a guy that I really think has tremendous upside. Would love to take him at 29 if he's available. We'll see who's available, right? But I off the top of the dome, those are like some of the guys that would definitely move the needle for me. Antoine Hoskins, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Antoine writes, what are 3 must-haves for the new Commanders Stadium? I've said this before. There needs to be a statue to Joe Gibbs outside of the stadium, right? Something to commemorate Joe Gibbs. And I would like them. This needs to get done before Joe passes on and goes to the other side. He needs to see it, right? He needs to know what he means to this organization. And the best way for them to showcase that is to build a statue for this man, and it needs to be out in front of that stadium, or put together a portion of that stadium that is just Joe Gibbs, or maybe it's like a commemorative, station where it's maybe like a Darryl Green statue, a Joe Gibbs statue, a Sean Taylor statue, stuff like that, whatever. But Gibbs needs to be in some way, shape, or form honored at the new stadium. It has to be a dome, right? And I would prefer it to be retractable. That is a non-starter. They know, because they want to host events there year-round. They want to host a World Cup. They want to host the Final Four. They want the Olympics to come there. They want a Super Bowl. If you want those types of things at your venue, it needs to be able to be weatherproof. So that's a non-starter, but yes, that. And I'm probably the wrong person to ask about like the amenities inside, because I'm not a big stadium goer. So that would probably be a question for someone else. But if we're just talking about like the aesthetics, I think that you want something that's unique to your stadium. It would be pretty cool to have something that's like unique to your stadium. I don't know how you get that done, but if you're building something, you look at all the new stadiums, you see what they have, and it'd be nice if you could build something that separates your stadium from everyone else's. Everybody's stadium that's new is state of the art. The Cowboys have that gigantic board. Like, you don't need that shit. Like, let them have that, right? But you want something unique, something that makes your stadium stand out. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. My guy, Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for your generosity as always, and gifting 10 new memberships. Y'all know what it is. Stand up. You're now officially in the building, courtesy of our guy, Christopher McLaughlin. Welcome to the squad, courtesy of our guy, Chris. Matt, thank you so much Really do appreciate you and your generosity and all that you do for the Louie T Network. Walt, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB mob. You know what to do. Show Walt some love. Welcome him with open arms. Welcome to the squad. Walt. Is that Walt 260? Change the thumb up on me a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's you. What's going on, Walt? Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, if we don't draft a corner, it's Bobby Price season. Let the people know that you are with us like you said you are. Our man, Louie T. So the Norfolk State alum, Bobby Price, 6'4", right? They obviously like Bobby Price, man. I've been using Bobby Price as my joke for what are they gonna do? Start Bobby Price? You know, what are they gonna do? Keep Bobby Price? Shit, I think they like Kayvon Seymour better, right? Because he's a guy that they love on special teams. So worst case scenario, if they did nothing else at corner, they've got 5 corners if you add in Kayvon Seymour. So I've already told you that's a guarantee. They're adding a corner at some point in this draft. Again, may not be the one you like. They might not do it when you want to, but they are going to add a corner. So I don't think that's something that's going to happen where we come away and we're talking about Bobby Price or Kayvon Seymour, right? We're not going to be talking about the former Spartan out there at corner for the Commanders. They'll draft someone, but God forbid it turns into Bobby Price season. Help us all. Help us all. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Swaggy P, writes, Lou, he says, looks like I will be seeing you at a game in 2030, Lou. Feels like it. It's probably going to be sooner than that. My son is dying to go to a game. And eventually I'm going to break down and take him to one. So it'll probably be before then. But 2030, you definitely going to see me in the building without question. Probably have season tickets by then. As someone who never experienced RFK, I hope the new stadium brings the atmosphere of RFK and what I experienced at the home games this past year. And that's the hope, right? Is I too never got to experience RFK. So I'll never know what that was like. Only on television, you know, and you could feel the energy through the screen at the old RFK. And we know about the lower level seats rocking, and you know, it was just a different environment there. But the home field advantage was the thing that stood out there. That and the lower level seats in that lower bowl rocking, right? RFK, obviously you don't want this anymore, but it was one way in, one way out. And they either walk up the steps and they could feel the stadium rocking. The opposition could feel the stadium rocking. I want something unique. I'm not saying like, I remember Dan Snyder once upon a time saying he wanted to recreate that. That was organic. I don't want you chasing after that nostalgia, right? I want something unique that makes it our stadium, that no one else can lay claim to this. And I don't know what that is. Create a tremendous environment for people to enjoy the game, but something that makes this stadium unique and makes it ours. And you know, when you come to Northwest or whatever it be called, and I'm assuming they've bought the naming rights for this and any future stadium for however long they have the naming rights to it, you know you're in for a fight. Because not only is the team on the field good, but those fans in the stands are going to bring it. And that's what I want them to create, that kind of environment. And I think the baseline for that is the Falcons game. Right? This past year, if you're going off of recent memory, the Falcons game, right? That's going to be hard to recreate because like when you're playing the Eagles, the Cowboys, because those teams have fans that live in the area, they're going to be there. The Falcons do not. and the Falcons fans do not travel. So we were able to show up in masses and make sure that that stadium was a home field advantage and that we were loud and drowning out Falcons fans. I don't know if you're going to be able to recreate that when you're playing the Cowboys, the Eagles, or the Giants, because so many of their fans are in such close proximity. They always find a way into the stadium. But the better the team is, the louder our fans will be, the more of our fans will show up. And you get a new stadium, like I said, you're going to have fans like myself who are like, nah, I'm in the building just for the ambiance. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with all of that. But I'm definitely excited that we're getting, the fact that we're even having this conversation means we're getting a lot closer. We're getting a lot closer. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. So just a quick reminder, tomorrow, Commanders Kings Live over on that channel. Next week, Commanders Kings will be live Tuesday night. We'll be doing a special mock draft video live with you guys. I'll be doing my mock draft with you guys at some point next week. It probably will be Monday, maybe. If not Monday, Wednesday, the day before the draft. I'm going to put out my Washington mock at some point as well for the team. I'm going to put out my 30, first round mock and then my Washington mock. So those will be coming down the pipeline as early as Monday. So be on the lookout for those. And I'll normally, when I do Washington, mocks, I do one with trades, one without trades. So it's probably what I'll do again this year. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow. We'll have the LouieTeeNetwork podcast tomorrow, among other things. And again, Commanders Kings. And so I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys take care. That was a great show. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. God bless. Good night.